Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver from the Detroit Lions, suffered an ankle injury against the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving Day. If we take a look a little bit closer at what happened here during the play, it's kind of hard to tell exactly where or what happened to that ankle. See it get rolled up by the offensive lineman here, not being able to see if a good view of if it's going into like an excessive dorsiflexion with external rotation or even an inversion. Head coach Dan Campbell did say it was not going to be a long-term issue, so that makes us think that it's probably not going to be any fractures. However, our mindset might go to more of a sprain in the ankle, so we're going to go over some of the options of what could be going on with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Here's our anatomical model, and this is where we're going to go over some of the structures that might have been involved with Amon-Ra St. Brown's injury. First, we have our lateral ankles stabilizers here. These ligaments help stabilize a typical ankle sprain. The first one we have is our anterior talofibular ligament. This is the most frequently damaged. Then we have our calcaneofibular ligament seen in the middle. And then we also have our posterior talofibular ligament seen back here. A few structures that could be involved is potentially for a high ankle sprain. We have both our tibia and fibula seen right here, and connected you have this interosseous membrane between the tibia and fibula. You also have other ligaments that help stabilize, like your anterior inferior tibiofibular ligament seen over here, as well as back here we have our posterior inferior tibiofibular ligament. Once again, all these structures are help support and prevent that high ankle sprain. Finally, we do have a big group of ligaments here on the medial side of the ankle, and these are your medial collateral ligaments or deltoid ligaments. These are very rarely injured just due to the fact that there is such a low chance of having an eversion ankle sprain. So with a lateral ankle sprain, with those lateral ligaments, as we discussed earlier, typically the mechanism of injury is that rolling motion, and there's that combination of inversion of that ankle as well as plantar flexion, which is that typical mechanism of injury for a lateral ankle sprain. And then for a high ankle sprain, we have that interosseous membrane and those other ligaments that help support and prevent this from happening. The common mechanism of injury is that extreme external rotation of that lower extremity as well as dorsiflexion of the talus. Once again, if we do go back to this video here, it's very hard to tell exactly what that ankle is doing underneath all the players for Amon-Ra St. Brown. So due to the fact that Dan Campbell did not say it's going to be a long-term issue, just he'll be missing maybe a few weeks, that makes us hopeful that it is just an ankle sprain. However, determining which type of ankle sprain it is will likely determine how long Amon-Ra St. Brown will miss. If it ends up being more of that lateral ankle sprain, it's just a low-grade ankle sprain, he could just even miss just 1 or 2 weeks. However, if it ends up being more of that high ankle sprain where that interosseous membrane is involved, he could potentially even miss to 4 to 6 weeks. So as we find out more information from him as the days go on, we do hope him a speedy recovery, as he is probably dealing with some sort of ankle sprain